And by the way, do you have any comment on the current state of TYT? I know you've obviously I used to watch you when you were a part of the network and was a huge fan of your work there. And I was just wondering, in my opinion, it's just gone so far downhill from a commentary perspective, from a strategical perspective, what they're advocating for. I remember back in the good old days, it was actually, a really fun show where they were having really interesting conversations with, interesting voices on the left. And now it just kind of seems like MSNBC light or something. And, here's buy some fucking TYT coffee and, sign up for the TYT bank and go to tyt.com/join/go/whatever the fuck. Like, I don't know, man. I was just wondering if you have any comment.
I don't mean this in a condescending way. I haven't watched it in a long time. So for the last time I was watching it, I think TYT is one of the biggest wasted opportunities. And I don't mean that as a bitter, they fired me, whatever, it's water under the bridge. But I just think with the resources that they do have, which are a lot more than anybody else.
It's crazy.
I think TYT had such an opportunity and still has it if they wanted to do it. They could have been this yin and yang where, you have the commentary, but you also have reporters going out and covering the Flint stories of the world, the Standing Rocks, General Motors laying off 15,000 people. They should be in Alabama right now covering this unionization fight. Yeah. There's a pandemic, so obviously you can't be in the field as much, but they had this opportunity to basically be the only in the field reporting unit covering these progressive causes, communities, groups. And then that only helps your commentary because you're not just commenting and reacting to stories you read from the Huffington Post, but you have reporters out there that you could then do your commentary around. They chose, frankly, because TYT is really just Cenk. It's just Cenk's brain, it's Cenk's ego, and Cenk's own, desire to hear his voice all the time. TYT, because Cenk, had severe Trump derangement syndrome, which, I think Trump was and is dangerous. But I said it while I was still there, honestly, you don't need to do every single segment about Trump or Republicans. I don't know what the calculus was, whether it was that clicked better or financial, he just suddenly thought that the Democratic Party is no longer as corrupt. But I think what it is now is, I call it just like a coked out version of MSNBC. And I think that, unfortunately, not just TYT, but I think all outlets, when you're generally speaking, when your worldview is in a studio in New York, DC, or LA, in their case, you kind of get disconnected. And I'm not crapping on commentators. You don't have to go out in the trenches. But I think, Jimmy, for example, before the pandemic was traveling, doing his comedy shows. So he was meeting people, in Chicago, in other places. You get a feel when you travel and you're in these communities. I mean, my best example is before I went to Flint, I know it happened, but I didn't have that connection. I didn't go into homes seeing the walls just mold from the water. I didn't meet children with blisters and rashes all over their body. So I think TYT, unfortunately, when you're in a studio and you're not out there, or you don't have reporters out there, you generally think the biggest, most threatening story is whatever Trump tweeted the last 20 minutes. And I think that's why it's gone downhill. And it sucks. I think that they did get a lot of money from Democratic Party sources. I'm not saying Cenk is corrupt, but I think he's very, very disconnected. And, at the end of the day, I think the basic conflict between TYT was calling it TYT Network when essentially you have an egomaniac running it who doesn't want to elevate. I mean, TYT's best business decision it could have ever made was giving Jimmy a daily show right before TYT. If you would have done that, they'd probably at this point, they wouldn't have to do fundraising campaigns because they would have exploded further on YouTube. But in my opinion, Cenk didn't want to do that because he doesn't want somebody to pass his
outshine him.
His stardom. I mean, I had to beg when I was there. I was going all over the country. I had to pull teeth just to get them to put my content on the show. Not because I wanted to grow my Twitter following, but it's why the hell am I freezing in -10 degrees here? If you're going to hide it in a cave what
And
I'm
it
doing.
was, yeah. And it was some of the best content too. I really do remember what you guys were doing back then. And it was awesome. Like, it was genuinely one of my favorite parts of the channel. And when they let you go, it was like one of the big first, strikes for me, when I was like, I had to really reconsider what the hell was going on there. And I think it's just been so downhill since.
Yeah.
So you haven't been missing much.
I don't think we have 5 hours about that particular issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll say, I think that they've really lost sight. I think that, unfortunately, not because people are bad people, but because people, unfortunately, as they get older and maybe make a little bit more money, and again, are sitting in a studio and that's all you do, and you're basically just doing hot takes based off Twitter instead of creating news. I don't mean fake news.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
it. Yeah.
why is TYT right now not in Alabama?